Healthy people eventually get to a place where they can say, I love you, but I can't keep living this way. You ever watch a show and thought, why does this feel so real? My name is Shelby, and I'm a therapist who works with teens and young adults just trying to sift through life. Today, we're going through an episode of Sanford and Son that helps us talk about both compromise and sensitivity. Keep in mind, this was the 70s, and we're still in the early stages of learning how to coexist with other people. Okay, here's what stuck out to me. Why is change so threatening? I think part of it is because once we leave that comfort zone, we sort of lose control. When we're in that comfort zone, we know what's what. We know the order of things, we know how to deal with things. But once that change occurs and we don't know what we're doing, that loss of control really starts to get us and we don't know what to do with ourselves. Young adults experience life changes constantly, whether it's graduating from a level of school, getting a new job, moving away, their parents getting older, themselves getting married, dating someone new, you name it. And sometimes the loved ones in our lives don't always celebrate those changes that are good for us. Lamont's not just leaving the house, he's also growing. And Fred's experiencing that growth as rejection. Why do we grow uncomfortable when the people we love experience changes? If you were to ask me, I would say that sometimes we fear that there's no place in that change for us. Sometimes we fear if our sibling or best friend moves to another city, they'll never spend time with us again. We fear that if someone gets a new friend group, that they'll start to like them more and like me less. Just different things that ultimately come back to, well, what about me? Is there room for me in your new life? When Lamont finally decided he had had enough of his dad's rigid opinions and emotional baggage, he decided that it was time for him to go. And when Fred initially hears this, he's offended, but then he realizes that he doesn't want his son to move out, and so he decides to make some compromises. Healthy people eventually get to a place where they can say, I love you, but I can't keep living this way. So let's talk about Fred for a second. Keep in mind, he's of an older age, prior generation, and he's used to a certain thing. And so when he noticed and realized that change was coming, he grew fearful because, again, where does that leave him? For Fred, the world was starting to look different than he had been used to. It was not only his relationship with his son, but the world around him looking different than he was used to. And that was kind of hard for him to reconcile. When change occurs, it can cause people to look inside themselves and question, well, if this is the way it is now and I've been doing something a certain way for so many years, have I been wrong this whole time? Most people don't resist change because they hate growth. They resist change because they're protecting themselves. So within the episode, there is a scene where Lamont invites his, what he calls, sensitivity group. And one of the main things about this group is they're very into hugging. For Fred, having come from an older generation, some families and cultures see showing feelings and emotions as a strength, and some see it as a weakness. And it is possible that Fred came from a family background that did not see it as a strength. And so to see his son of a newer generation hugging his friends and explicitly telling him that he loved them, that might have been really uncomfortable for Fred. Growth is one of the scariest things that God invites us into. Sometimes when we feel a conviction of the Lord saying, hey, things need to be different, we're scared because we liked the way we were living life. We were comfortable in that. God calls us to grow because he has better for us in that growth. He knows that we have potential that is not being realized at this moment, and growth can help us become those better people that God intended us on being. Growth usually requires change and can disrupt a relationship before it strengthens it. Can you think of a time where someone you love misunderstood the life changes you were going through, whether it was you leaning into your faith, you setting boundaries, or trying to get healthier in a weight loss journey? Tell me what happened in the comments. This show might be over, but the conversation just started.